Welcome to Dynamic Thriving Audio Blog, where we're very spiritual with a good dose of practicality in support of your life transformation. This is your host, Marianne Pack, spiritual medium, oracle for the many, and joy advocate. Today's audio blog is entitled, The Journey Begins and Ends with Joy. If joy begins and ends our journey, what are we doing with the time in between? We are full of light and love and joy when we come into this life as an infant. Infants are more aligned with who they really are as love, joy, and freedom than any of us adults. They are here to teach us how to live in the present moment, knowing how they want to feel, and of course, they want to feel good. We are not here to teach them how to live life. Children are here to teach us how to trust that whatever feels joyful is what we should be doing. If you think because they have no spoken language that they don't know what they're doing, you are sorely mistaken. Our littles all know exactly what they want and how they want to feel. They smile and laugh when they are happy, and they cry when they are unhappy. They want to feel good. Children are creating their life experience by their emotional vibrations, just like us. We are more spiritual beings than we are flesh, blood, and bone. At the end of our life, as we transition out of our physical form, closing our eyes in this life and opening our eyes into the light, we end our journey in joy. As we reemerge back into non-physical spirit, we are in pure bliss. All resistance we carried through life has fallen away. All we take with us is our pure, positive energy of beingness. We are beginning and ending our journey in joy. So, what about the days, months, and years in between? We've all heard the saying that joy is in the journey. Do we really understand what that means? Do we really believe it? Is our journey really joyful? Are we experiencing as much joy as possible? Are we living our fullest, most joyful life experience? Here's a quote from Abraham Hicks. I like knowing that my job is joy, and that when I find joy in each and every moment, I also find freedom and abundance, because joy and freedom and abundance are the same vibration. So if we could understand that joy is our job, we would live in heaven on earth. As we find joy in the journey along the way, everything else will fall perfectly into its rightful place in our lives. Joy, freedom, and abundance. Because they are all on the same vibrational frequency and by law are attracting one another. They live in the same neighborhood. Most of us would have to admit that no, we aren't living as joyful a journey as we would like. We may have to acknowledge that we are not experiencing as much joy as possible. We have hit and miss moments of joy, but the journey is not always joyful, or not even close to joyful much of the time. Let's take some time now to think about ways in which we can change that. Let's think about how we can experience more joy, how to give ourselves permission to live joy all along our journey from here on out. What is joy and where does it come from? I believe we are joy. I love how my mentor, Abraham Hicks, describes it. You are joy, looking for a way to express. It's not just that your purpose is joy, it's that you are joy. You are love and joy and freedom and clarity expressing. Energy frolicking and eager. That's who you are. The first time I read this quote from Abraham, I immediately felt elated. I was so excited to think that I was joy. It's not just that my life was supposed to be joy-filled, which it is, but more so that I am joy in the flesh. Then my rational, logical mind kicked in. My inner critic is so judgmental and condescending. You're certainly not joy. The way you live, please. Look at all the pain and suffering you've dealt with, not to mention all the pain and suffering you've caused others during your life. You're actually being joy is such a farce. Ugh, my inner mean girl spoke so demeaning to me, and my spirit sank. Then I asked my inner being, my God spark, my spirit, my soul, what they knew, thought, and felt about me being joy. Could it possibly be true? In my paraphrase, they said that if in reading this quote that I felt the joy coming through and that joy resonated with me, it's because I recognized it as who I really am. That joyful feeling was because my inner being was knowing that to be who I am, thinking that to be true, and feeling the joy of who I really am. So simply put, I was recognizing myself, capital self, my inner being as joy. When I felt the resonance of being joy, I wasn't focused on my physical life, mind, and body. I was focused on my non-physical being of light and love. That's where the joy resides. It's only my mind-body that can get off track and not live a joyous journey. My inner spirit is always in joy. That's why I feel so bad when I don't live joyfully. It's because I'm not living true to who I am. I know I'm getting better at living my inner joy than I was for so many years. I realize that we must have contrast to know what we really want. We have to have experiences that are not joyful to realize just how important being in joy really means to us. We must be able to see the comparison of what we don't want to really know what we do want instead, what we'd prefer. Contrast is what allows us to create more. And since the mantra of the universe is more, we create by living every day in contrasting experiences. As we experience a contrast, something we don't want, we know what we'd prefer, something better. When we make that preference, we just created more. So even when we are on our journey, not every moment will be joyful. That's as it should be. It allows us to realize just how important joy is in our lives so we can make it our priority. We long to be more joyful. We want to experience more joy-filled moments. Those are choices we get to make every day with our free will. We willingly choose to reach for more and more joy because our inner self is calling us to alignment with who we really are. Joy. I don't believe any one of us would set out purposefully to live a miserable life experience. Unfortunately, we do choose miserable lives when we use our free won't. When we refuse to use our free will and deny ourselves the permission to choose joyful experiences, which I refer to as free won't, we are actually choosing misery. We, by default energy, decide to not decide, which is actually a decision. Or we believe that we have no control over our life experiences, that joy just happens by chance, that we just can't simply plan to be joyful or enjoy our journey. So we choose to make joy conditional. If the conditions are right, we are joyful. When things are going bad, we succumb to the thinking that we can't possibly be joyful in this condition. But we do have control over our thoughts and how we choose to live our lives. Every decision calls life force to flow through us. So make more decisions to choose thoughts of joy. Think about things that bring a spark of joy into your heart. Think about all the things that are going right in our lives. Don't look around and see the ugly in the world and let it drag you down. That's your choice, though. Whatever you're thinking that causes you to feel bad are thoughts that are in opposition to what your joyous inner being is thinking at the same time. If you look at something and it makes you feel bad and you can't shake it, ask what your inner being feels about it. Your inner being will give you messages of all is well. There's nothing serious going on here. They are also loved as much as you are. Each person has their own inner being that's calling them. So simply decide that you are going to choose joy all along your journey. We do not have to wallow around in self-pity or push against the injustices of the world. If we begin to look through the eyes of our inner source, we will see all the world with unconditional love. No condition must change before there is love given and received. We love because we are love in a state of being. We will know what improvement we'd prefer. When we have that improvement in focus, then we can actually do something of value toward influencing the improvement. You may even get inspiration to take some action that would support the improvement, taking care not to dwell on the problem because that will only increase the problem. The key to living a joy-filled life is to live in an attitude of appreciation. That's simple enough to do. We simply spend more time focusing our attention on things that are going right. We look for specific evidence that life is good, pleasurable, joyful. We journal about all the positive aspects around every area in our lives. We make lists and lists of things we appreciate. We mull over in our minds all the wonderful experiences we've had and look forward to even more joy-filled moments. We spend more time doing things we love and watch our energy rise to joyfulness. As we do this focus work, we will begin to rewire our physical brains to be more receptive and on the lookout for more and more things we love and that bring us joy. Your physiology is only obeying your thought patterns. You can create a more joyful physiology or a negative woe is me physiology. Your neural pathways build and break apart according to your chosen dominant thought patterns. Will you choose your free will or your free won't? It's always your choice. No one can think one thought for you. Only you have that power. Use it joyfully. I would love to help you live a joyful life. I've opened up some slots in my schedule to offer you a complimentary Discover My Joy and Well-Being session with me. Let's find out where your joy is lacking and how we can put you on a path to experiencing as much joy as possible during your in-between years. You can find that offer in the show notes. If this post has resonated with you, please like, comment, and be sure and subscribe to this podcast. This really helps my work expand and touch more lives with joy. Thanks in advance. To your joyous life journey, this is Mary Ann Pack, your spiritual medium, oracle for the many, and joy advocate.